basically last night there's been a lot of talk, especially on social media, about Six Buzz and how it promotes violence and it's divisive for the city of Toronto, and this comes off the death of the rapper Houdini, which was on Tuesday. And I'm not sure if you've seen the video, but yesterday the police released the security footage of that shooting, and it was a daylight shooting, and obviously, as we know, Toronto during the day it's bustling. Doesn't matter if there's a pandemic or not, the streets are still full. So this shooting was on Blue Jays Way, just north of King Street, and if you see the video, fam, it's off. It's an awful video because there's a mom with her kid, and her the mom is just is like loading up the car, and then she's with her 6 year old son, and then the 6 year old like walks away from the mom because she's still loading up the car, and then he's literally walking into what's about to become in the next few seconds of full blown out shootout. He has no idea. He's just walking in, and then literally seconds later, he's in the middle of the gunfire. So the guys that are shooting, the guys that are shooting from going from I think south to west, I mean south to north, they're running back south, and then those guys are chasing them, and he's literally in the middle, so he's running kind of behind the guys that are shooting, and then he's literally lost. He's thinking about whether I go to the car or whether I go into there was like a little hood place, like it's the front of a hotel, so it has like that little covering, so he just runs there, and then you could just see like that video, and probably that moment is going to be one of the most traumatizing moments for him. So eventually we'll talk more about the violence in Toronto, but just a daylight shooting, and the sergeant talked a bit about it. I forgot his name, but he's just like they had no regard for human life. Like it it could have literally ended badly, and a bystander, a 27-year-old woman, she got shot, but she'll fully recover. But that kid, I really have no idea how he did not get hit by a bullet. They shot around 23 bullets. So yeah, off of that, everybody's been going at Six Plus because they promote violence, but then when it comes to these shootings, then they talk about peace and etc. And I kind of wanted to get into that today because I feel like it's always the same cycle. I'm sure. I bet you've noticed every time there's a major shooting, people talk about how, oh, it's Six Plus, all you promote is foolishness and etc. etc. And Six Plus became a huge page. Like it says that it was founded in 2012, but I think for us it became a huge page around like 2015, 2016, as we were getting ready to leave for university. That's when like the page for us blew up, and they right now has like 1.7 million followers. So it's obviously it's a huge page, but I feel like it's always this cycle that happens every time there's a shooting. Everybody gets mad at Six Buzz, but then few weeks pass, and then we're right back to sharing their posts and etc. And my only take on this is that like there's a reason why Six Plus became such a huge page. There's a reason why right now it has 1.7 million followers. Like we kind of created this beast because we liked seeing the foolishness around the city. Like it was fun to see, oh, this happened, whatever, let me send it to my boy, and we're like, oh, I know this place, or etc. It was just fun for people to see foolishness and share it around, me included, right? And I feel like if you follow a page like Six Buzz, you shouldn't expect Six Buzz to act like a Toronto Star or a CBC. They're not a news outlet. They're not like they're not biased. They're well, every news station is probably biased, but I'm just saying they're Six Buzz. They're literally Six Buzz Entertainment. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the thing. It's Six Buzz Entertainment. It's literally there for entertainment. So I don't believe there should be a reason why people should look at Six Buzz as if they should have a moral high ground on anything, because it's literally just an entertainment page. And I feel like we have to ask ourselves also why we follow the page. And I think that leads into the bigger discussion, because also people are like, well, there's different criticism. There's also the criticism of Six Buzz. They post stories, no sources. They steal content from creators and etc. I feel like as a grown adult, you shouldn't be getting your news from Six Buzz. Regardless, Six Buzz shouldn't be the way you receive the news of the day. There should be other ways. If you're a grown adult, I understand kids are just on Instagram scrolling and like, oh, this happened, this happened. That's fine, but I don't feel like as grown adults we should be looking at Six Buzz as our news source. And that's why when they post stories without sources, I don't get mad because they don't post sources. Because it's that page is an entertainment page. They have, I don't know if they probably don't have any journalists that work for them. They just copy paste stories. So to me, it's not realistic to expect a page like Six Buzz to act like a true news outlet. Like people, I think people need to temper their expectations on the page because I'm not sure what they were expecting from the page. And our argument was made that, okay, like, look, why don't you guys go post more positive stories about the city and etc. And I believe they should be doing it. Like they could do that, but also at the same time, Six Buzz is using the strategy that got him big in the first place. The thing that got him big in the first place is posting foolishness about about Toronto and people sharing that foolishness. They probably look behind the scenes. They're talking about would posting more positive stuff, would that change our following? Like what would happen? They probably talk about that behind the scenes, but the strategy that got them so big is the strategy they will probably keep using until the wheels fall off. Until people legitimately use like the criticism they have right now and they use it, they unfollow the page, they stop interacting with the page. As long as we still interact, we still share their posts and they're still getting numbers, Six Buzz is not going to change their strategy.
Yeah. It I think this question is also about just the ethics of these pages on social media. Especially when you become bigger as a page. You know, like I've not been paying attention to Six Buzz for a long time. I think I basically just followed the page in perhaps the last 2 months, but I've always heard about it. Being from Toronto, but the way they actually act for a page that has I don't know, 1.2 million followers or so,
1.7, I think.
1.7, you would think it's like a smaller page, because it's just the standard of their content, the way they don't even tag the like the people responsible for the content or those kind of things, just the their practices, like are not up par to what you would expect coming from a page that big, so I think they need to reevaluate their business model, given that they're bigger now, so they have to have better standards of news and how posting, and they have more resources. You have 1.7 million followers. Like if you advertise your page, you can make quite a significant amount of money, so I don't think there's an excuse to say that, oh, we don't have real journalists, because you can hire some journalists even part-time, just to uh, pick up the standards of your page, and this is quite important because lots of people, as you said, in Toronto, or of youths in Toronto, use Six Buzz as one of their outlets to get news, or to know what's happening around the city. So if there's such a responsibility on you as a page, and given that you're a pretty big page, like you should be responsible. So I think, yeah, but it like this conversation has really been and it's just not Six Buzz. For we also, the Toronto Sun had uh released a cover about the shooting that was just quite um just not it was really disrespectful for the person's family, and just the city as a whole. It feels like, and people are really mad because they say that like it's racist or whatever, but I'm not sure I can impugn racist motives on there. But like it's just the journalistic standards there, even for a newspaper that's more legitimate than say Six Bus, is also like has been quite trash, so it's also incumbent to us to review uh, which newspapers we're giving attention and what are the standards, because this is quite just unacceptable.
And um, and even in terms of Six Buzz, I do believe if we all get together, like with this outreach that's happening, we all get together and fundamentally you either unfollow Six Buzz or you stop sharing their posts, and they see the numbers dip, then they're forced to change that standard. But
Hmm.
there's just they're the type of page where they will not change anything. Like we've had, this happens all the time. It's always the same cycle. Literally every time there's a shooting that happens, somebody passes away, then we get mad at Six Buzz, but then we forget about it. It's like this time, if you really want change in the way they behave, then you have to affect the bottom line. And people talk about that a lot in in the United States as well. They boycott companies if they do something that they deem, whether it's racist or it's immoral. They start boycotting the company. That's the thing. That's the thing you have to do. Like in terms of even protesting during the civil rights era, the boycotts are something that are a great tool that was used, because it's like, okay, if they don't hear our voices, then they can definitely hear our pockets if we're not using money into their businesses. So I think like as a generation, etc., we just have to really talk the talk, like the same average we're using, we have to put action behind it. And and I think like the Toronto Sun front page, because I remember seeing it, I'm like, there's no way this is a real, this can't be real. There's no way you literally, that is your front page. Like the amount of, I don't know how many editors have to see that before it goes up, but I'm assuming it's probably more than like 5 people. And to even print that, I don't know how nobody has stopped it in the process. Or you can even argue like they did not care. They did not care, because look, the headline went viral. It went super viral. Maybe that's the one thing they wanted, and they didn't care about the repercussions of that headline. But once we start recording our Black Lives Matter episode, which is coming very soon, like we can talk about just some type of the bias we've seen in terms of a news outlet. Because I remember being a young kid back at the in high school, and we would always talk, man, look at this, every time a black man does crime, they always post his mugshot. Even though if he passes away, they post his mugshot. And if you reverse the roles, they're always posting nice picture about the other race, about white people, and etc. Like I remember it was a huge thing back in the day, and it's still till now, because not too long ago, I think it was about 1 2 years ago, like a guy passed away, and then I forgot what news outlet it was. I don't want to say the wrong news outlet, but they posted his mugshot instead of just posting a picture of it. He was a young guy, so you could have, there was easily pictures of him just at school or something like that, but they posted his mugshot, and it was like, damn, it's still there. Like you said, the journalistic standards that need to be applied. I think that's a greater conversation for sure.
Yeah.